Hi, I'm Pam from the Birch Cottage blog. In this video tutorial, I would like to show you how to make these super handy and easy to sew cast iron skillet handle covers. These are made just out of cotton fabric, cotton thread, and some Insulbright insulation to keep the heat away from your hands. They're easy to make. They're super handy. If you use cast iron skillets, once you use one of these cast iron skillet handle covers, you'll wonder what you ever did without it. So let's take a look at the supplies needed to make these handles. So I've created a pattern for you. You'll just need to print that out and cut out your two pieces. This piece is for the handle cover itself, and it will tell you you need to cut out two pieces for your exterior fabric. So you need cotton fabric for the exterior. You will cut out two pieces of this pattern for the lining. So you need fabric. It can be the same or different for the lining. And then you will also need to cut out one piece, and this is for the binding that's at the top of your pot holder. So you'll need to cut out one piece of this. I use the same fabric from my lining to cut out for the binding. And then you will also need to cut out two pieces of insulated fleece or Insulbright, whatever you have available to you to use. This has a metallic on one side and just a cotton or fusible, it's a fleece on the other side. And what it does is it retracts the heat and sends it back to the pot holder and helps protect your hands. So you'll need some of that, and you'll need to cut out two pieces of this from this pattern piece as well. Besides the fabric and the Insulbright, you'll also need to have some pins maybe, or some Wonder Clips. I just love these Wonder Clips. They're one of my favorite little sewing tools. You'll also need to have some cotton thread, your sewing machine, and a nice fresh sewing machine needle. You'll need to have fabric scissors, and I think that's about it. So let's take a look at how to make these cast iron skillet pot holder handle covers. Thanks.
The first thing you'll need to do is download and print out the pattern and then cut out the pattern around the outside solid line. You have two pieces. One is the actual handle cover and the other is a piece for the binding. So you'll cut out two pieces of fabric for the exterior, two pieces of fabric for the lining, and then two pieces of your Insulbright or whatever insulated batting that you're using. You can also use cotton batting if that's what you prefer. The Insulbright is just specially formulated for things like hot pads, pot holders, and of course these skillet handle covers are a type of pot holder. So when I cut out for the binding, I just use my acrylic ruler. It's 2.5 inches by 6 inches is what we'll cut for that. And you just need one piece of fabric cut out for the binding. And here I'm pinning down the pattern for my exterior fabric. Again, I need two pieces cut out for the exterior, two for the lining, two for the Insulbright, and just one for the binding. And I'm just trimming up my edges so they're nice and even. Here I have two pieces for my exterior, my lining, and I'm going to cut out the insulated fleece, or the Insulbright is the brand that I use. You can use scissors to cut this out or a rotary cutter. I'm just really used to using my rotary cutter and find it a lot faster, but use whatever is convenient for you. And now we're going to layer the fabric and get ready to quilt it. So put your lining fabric face down, so wrong side up. Put your insulation, your Insulbright, your batting, whatever you're using on top of that, and then your exterior piece right side up. And just make a little mini quilt sandwich, and then you can pin or clip that together along the edges, just something to hold the pieces in place. And you can draw lines, draw a pattern on here, whatever you want to do for your quilting. I'm just going to sew a diagonal line from the top corner down and then use my quilting guide bar to space it. But first I'm going to prepare the binding. You'll take that binding piece of fabric and fold it in half and press it, and then fold each of the long edges in towards that crease that you just made from pressing it, and then press that in place. And the same thing with the other long edge. And then fold it back in half and give it another press. And this is just my clapper that I'm using to kind of help press that crease in real good. And then I'm cutting that binding piece in half, so I have two 3-inch strips. And now I have everything prepared and I'm ready to do my quilting. I'm going to use a longer stitch length, maybe 4.5 millimeter, and I'm just going to start at the top corner and go diagonally down. And then I'll use my quilt guide bar to help me evenly space my stitches for my quilting or top stitching onto the handle cover. I will do it one direction, trim off any threads, and then I will do it the other direction. And then just simply repeat that for the other side of your handle cover. Trim off any threads as I go. And like I said, I do it diagonally one direction and then diagonally from the other corner. So it kind of creates these diamond shapes on the quilted handle cover. All right, I'm just continuing to do my quilting. It'll be done here in just a second. All right, and now I'm ready to apply the binding to the top of the handle covers. So remember, I already pressed it in half again. So I'm going to open it up just once and line up that fold with the top edge of my handle cover. Now I'm pinning this to the right side or the exterior fabric. You can also do it from the inside if you like. So I'm going to stitch 1/4 of an inch away from the edge. I'm going to shorten my stitch length to about 2 millimeters, whatever you're comfortable with. I wanted to make sure it was on there really well. And then back stitch at the beginning and the end to secure your stitches. And then just fold that up over the top edge, fold it towards the back. And I like to fold it down so I can see that it's just a little bit past my stitch line, so that when I do the top stitching on the front of this, it's going to catch in that binding on the back. And like I said, if you prefer, you can do it the other way around. You can stitch it to the lining and then fold it over and then top stitch it to the exterior. And there we go. And then I'll repeat that with the other piece of the handle cover. Once I have those two done, we're ready to stitch this together. Now I like to kind of pin or use my clips to clip it in place, and I like to start from the middle of the side toward the end on each edge of the handle cover. The reason is I want to reinforce my stitches excuse me, I want to reinforce my stitches at the top. So the best way for me to do that is to start just about halfway down, stitch toward the end, and then I can back stitch and forward stitch. Do that a couple of times. So here I have flipped it over and I've started an inch or two away from the end, from the top edge. And then I'm just going to back stitch at the beginning to secure my stitches, and back and forth a few times, just because that gets a lot of use up at the opening to the handle cover. So I want to make sure that's good and secure. And now I'll just trim those threads, and then I can go back and pick up where I started sewing. Again, back stitch to reinforce my stitches, and then 1/4 of an inch seam allowance all the way around the handle cover. Then I'll just stitch back to where I started on the other side, back stitch to reinforce my stitches, and I'm done with the stitching part. Trim any threads. I'll trim up the extra seam around the curve just to help reduce that bulk, and then I will cut some notches in the curved part of the handle cover as well. I really find it easier to just kind of fold the fabric and cut, just a little triangle shape out of the end of it, which creates these notches, and that will help reduce bulk when we turn the handle cover right side out. So trim up any threads, do one more little notch there, and then I'm ready to turn the handle cover right side out. This can be kind of tough to do because you're working with so much bulk here, but just take your time, kind of roll down the top of it and push up in the middle of the handle cover. And then you can use your turner tool, the end of a crochet hook, a wooden dowel, whatever you like to use to help you uh, push out your seam allowances and stuff. So that'll help to turn the handle cover right side out. Unless you've got super strong fingers, which I do not, you will probably need to use a tool like this. This is just a little wooden dowel that came in the polyester fiber fill that I used for another project, and I saved that to use for instances just like this. So once I have this turned right side out, you can take it over to your iron and give it a nice pressing if you want, but it is ready to be used. They're machine washable, they're sturdy, and I think that you'll really like it. And if you make these for other people, they'll just wonder what they did without them. They're just so handy. If you have any questions about this tutorial, please leave them in the comments below. Come over to the Birch Cottage blog where you can download your free copy of the pattern. If you found this video tutorial helpful, be sure to like it, subscribe to my channel so you'll be notified when new tutorials are made available, and please come visit me over on the Birch Cottage blog and subscribe to my newsletter. Thank you so much.